Okay, I think the live stream is on. So yeah, welcome back, traders. So this is the first time I am live streaming. I'm gonna go ahead and just do a simple back testing session for you guys, but who knows, if I like this live streaming thing, maybe in the future we'll look at some live price action. But for now, we're just gonna go ahead and do a back testing session. Now, if you're in the audience, go ahead, feel free, ask me any questions you like. I may or may not answer it, depending on whether or not I like your question or not. But I guarantee if it is going to be trading related, there's a high probability that I will answer your question. But yeah, being my first time live streaming, I don't know if the audio or the video quality is good enough. Please let me know as well if I need to adjust those. But let's go ahead and jump right in and let's take a look at this week's action. So in my last video, I back tested all the way up to March 1st. That was Friday. Non-farm payroll is out of the way. So we're going to be back testing March 4th to March 8th. And just right now, I have it on March 1st on the daily chart, just taking a look right now. So we've entered into this busy on the daily, and now we have moved away from it, and we've reached our projected target. Just a reminder that this -1 standard deviation was a projection from this swing low to this swing high, and this negative 0.5 standard deviation was from this swing low to this swing high. Now, even though it's reached these projected targets, we still have higher targets that we could be reaching for. So I'm not saying that we are done with this bullish run. We just started leaving this fair value gap after going back into it. And you can see we went into 50% of that fair value gap. So we could be running much higher, but let's go ahead and take a look at the 4-hour just to get a little bit more detail. So zooming in here, now I'm looking at this recent 4-hour fair value gap. I'm going to go ahead and mark it. If price is going to continue to be bullish, I do not want to see this fair value gap filled in. I want to see price stay in the upper half. It could come back and rebalance. That's not a problem, but I want to see it stay in the upper half of this 4-hour fair value gap. And if I can find a setup on the lower time frame, I will take it, aiming for, well, the all-time high. And perhaps if we can go higher, there is a next projected target. Now, what's going to change my mind is you can see we don't really have any inefficiencies here, so I don't expect this low to get taken out. But if it does, then, well, we could be heading lower, but we'll see. We've got to look at this fair value gap for now. Now, let's go ahead and switch over to Monday, and we'll make this 8 o'clock. I'm going to go to the 1-hour time frame. Take a look. Okay, so here we are at the 1 hour. You can see we jumped up. Here's that 4-hour fair value gap. Pretty much just consolidated. We did take out the all-time high. Go ahead and mark the new all-time high. This is going to be the buy side, although we could be retracing. Okay, I see that after taking out the buy side, we did come down below this low, and I will stretch it out for you in just a second. Just want to put my lines in right here. So this is kind of the range we're stuck in. I'm going to go down to a 15-minute chart just to get a better view of it. You can see it's pretty sideways, so I'm not excited for the action right now. But if we are to go higher, I want to see price take out this low, go back into that 4-hour fair value gap, and perhaps create some sort of a setup for us to go long. So right now, nothing really exciting for me. I'm just wanting to see this sell side liquidity get taken. I'm going to go ahead and walk through the time now on a 5-minute chart. See that it was pretty choppy, but we have gotten some displacement, but I don't really care. I want to see the sell side get taken before I do anything. So just going to go ahead and step through, and we are coming up to 8:30. It's just consolidating still. I want to see a sweep of liquidity. Okay, here we go. We did take out this sell side. If we do get a market structure shift, I guess I could consider taking it, aiming for this high, but I'd much rather see this low get taken. Okay, and then we are coming up to 9:30 now. So you can see we did come down, take this low. It didn't go back into that 4-hour fair value gap. I would like to see a further push down, but if I do start seeing displacement up, I guess I could take a chance, or I could wait for confirmation. So far, pretty choppy. You can see all the candles pretty much overlapping each other's range. We don't see any inefficiencies on the 5-minute just yet. Okay, now it finally went back into that 4-hour fair value gap. So that is definitely what I want to see. Now, if I see some sort of displacement or a shift in market structure, then I would want to take a trade going long. And my first target could be these highs right here. We do have relative highs. My second target would be this. This is the all-time high. But let's just go step through a little bit longer and see if we get any sort of displacement. This could be a potential fair value gap here. Okay, so here could be a potential fair value gap. I'm gonna go ahead and mark it out like right here. Now, this candle is not done forming yet, so I'm gonna have to give it a little bit longer of a time. But if we do create a fair value gap here, I guess I could try to take an entry. It will be somewhere around 307, and then the risk will be this low at 280. So that's going to be about 27 points. So yeah, definitely go ahead and take a shot with this right here, doing a 1% risk on the account. So let's just go ahead and keep stepping through and see if this fair value gap remain intact. And sure enough, it does. Now we went even higher, actually created another fair value gap. So now I'm thinking, because this fair value gap is much bigger, if we get a retracement, we may just retrace up to this fair value gap, not go into the low one, although it could definitely. But I'm going to go ahead and lower my risk a little bit here. I'm going to keep it just below this order block, since that way gives me a little bit more of a little bit less risk to work with here. So let's go ahead and see how many contracts I can take with these prices. So if that red is going to be my stop loss and this teal is my entry, let's pull up the spreadsheet here. Take a look. Okay, so if we were to go, if we were to go long, and let's say at 18,317.25, stop loss at 18,290.25. So that is going to give me, and let me just go ahead and enter the date just in case we end up taking this. If not, whatever. But yeah, that's going to give me about 0.5% risk. So I'm able to take 2 contracts here in order to stay underneath that 1% risk. So we're going to go ahead and give that a shot. If this fair value gap remains and we get our entry before we take out these highs. I don't want to see those highs get taken out. Okay, so we went ahead and we got our entry. Now I went into this fair value gap, completely rebalanced it. It could come back down to this fair value gap, and it could even come down to this order block, but I do not want to see it go below 50% of the body here, and definitely I don't want to go see it go below the body. So this is more of a risky stop. To be more conservative, you will risk the low of that fair value gap of this order block here at the very bottom, but by raising my risk up to here, that gives me enough leeway to enter into 2 contracts. So let's go ahead and walk through and see what we get here. Of course, my first partial is going to be these highs up here. Walking through, it's getting close to 12. Okay, so this was not working out today. We went ahead and got stopped out. Let's go ahead and mark it in the spreadsheet. 2 contracts at 18 to 90.25. So we did get stopped out for that 1% loss. So there's 1 loss for today. We could enter into 1 more, taking only 0.5% risk. So let's go ahead and just watch the price here. We may not be able to get another entry because of the time issue here. It's getting really close to 12 o'clock. And remember, my time window is at 12:15. So once that hit, I'm not going to be entering at all. You can see that if you had that conservative risk at the low of that fair value gap, you never would have gotten stopped out. But I went ahead and just decided to be a little bit more risky, and I paid the price for it. So here we go. This is going to be 12.15. Not going to get another entry. Price didn't really do too much after this initial run up, which is pretty much just consolidated and wicked within the range here. So that's it. That's going to be it for this day. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next day. But before I do, I want to take a look at the end of the day, 5 o'clock, just to see how price played out. And as you can see, we went up, did not take out those relative highs, surprisingly. And then we just completely dropped into that 4-hour fair value gap. So as long as we're staying in the upper half, I think we will be okay. Let's just take a quick look at the daily. And as you can see, so this was the day, and we created another fair value gap here on the daily. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust this. This was the 4-hour fair value gap. I'm going to go ahead and adjust it to become the daily fair value gap now. And this is what I'll be looking for going into the rest of the week. I still think price can come back down into here, but as long as we stay above 50% of this fair value gap, I'm going to go ahead and still remain bullish. So this pink line is going to be the 50%. Okay, so now let's go ahead and switch to the 1-hour chart going into the next day. Okay, so going to the next day, you can see that we dropped even lower below that daily fair value gap, and we went back into the larger fair value gap. So I'm gonna go back up to the 4 hours just to see where we're all at here. So price, after hitting that projection level, we have fallen back down, and I did not think it was going to take out the low, but it sure did. I think it's going to take out this low right here. Now, if we do get a retracement up and we don't take out this low, there is a potential trade to go for this low. Now, if we start going through this daily fair value gap, I think if we go through the fair value gap and we start seeing inversion, then I'll be looking for the lows. But right now, I'm going to stay a little bit more hopeful on the longs, as long as we see some sort of a signal, like a market shift signal. So let's go ahead and go to the 5-minute. And well, I'm kind of skipping over the intermediate time frame. So let's go up to the 15-minute just to mark out our intermediate liquidity. Of course, that low and this high right here. I think if we start getting displacement above this high, we could aim for this high back into that fair value gap to see if it's going to get used again. And you can see how we dropped down and we went to 50% of that. So that is inversion. This is kind of leading me to think that we are going to go for the sell side. But are we going to keep dropping once we take this one out? Not sure. Now, if it doesn't get taken out and we have some retracement, I'll be looking for an opportunity to go short. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to the 5-minute and start walking through the day. Oh shoot, guys, I completely messed up here. I forgot to change the time, so I don't know how the time got messed up, but it is it's in the afternoon. So okay, so this is what I'm going to do today. I'm just going to go ahead and look at, man, I don't even know how to fix this. You know what? I mean, I'm just going to pretend not to see anything, and we may not take a trade, but I'll just walk through the day just to see kind of what I'm. Sorry guys, this is the first time this happened. I did not, it must be the live stream. I did not anticipate to mess up the time like this, because once you see the day's action, you kind of already have this bias. So I can't really be honest with you guys anymore once I saw the action for the day. But anyways, just walking through the important times. So let's go to 9 o'clock. This will show us what happened at 8:30. Pretty much went to the low of that fair value gap. So at this point, I could be looking at it and thinking, okay, we could be having some inversion. We're staying in the lower half of that fair value gap. So there was possible for inversions. And then let's see, at 9:30, we got a big drop down, and we couldn't even make it back up to this fair value gap, and we dropped down even lower with this fair value gap. So at this point, I may try to take a short here, aiming for that low, but of course, I already know what the price action is for the day, so not going to put in any trades for today. In fact, today may not have been a trade because, you know, I was looking for longs. I was long biased, but we went down into that daily fair value gap. And then, of course, at the end of the day, as you already saw, we went ahead and rallied up a little bit, but now I'm just going to go ahead and move on to the next day and not mess up my time. So let's go ahead and go to the 15-minute time frame. We'll go to the next day, and now make sure to make it 8 o'clock. Okay, so as you can see, that low was not taken. Just to zoom out a bit to remind you what that was. As the chart loads, we had a dip down into this daily fair value gap before, with this being the low here. And then we went down, did not take out the low, but we created a relative equal low. So that is what I am looking at on the lower time frame. Now we are rallying back up to this 4-hour fair value gap. We used that as inversion one time before, but will we use it as inversion again? So as long as it's staying in the lower half and we start seeing displacement lower, I could be aiming for these lows right here, right? If we start going below these, we could aim for those relative lows on the daily, but right now, I'm not even sure what to do, honestly. Like, we could be retracing back into this fair value gap. I think going on to the hourly chart will give me a better picture. So let's go ahead and mark out this hourly fair value gap. This is the obvious one to reach for. This could play a role in bringing us lower. And we just tapped into it. Below us on the 1 hour, we do have this fair value gap, but I don't like how we've already balanced it. Below us, we do have this fair value gap. This could be a reasonable target to aim for. If we start going lower, this could be a first partial area. And now going into the 15-minute, now I think it's starting to make a little bit more sense. We have the sell side right there, and we've already taken out the buy side up here. Okay, up there. We've already taken this out. So, you know me, like, I'd use the dotted lines if we've already taken out a certain level once, which it did. And going to the 5-minute now, this is kind of what I'm looking for. If we start seeing displacement lower, I'll look for this low to get taken and go into this fair value gap, perhaps this low right here. And of course, these smooth lows is kind of like what I'm looking for if we start having a market maker sell model. But currently, we are digging into that 1 hour fair value gap. We could dig in some more. We could even go back up into that 4-hour fair value gap. So not going to be too eager right now. Just going to let price show me what it wants to do. Let's go ahead and move through the day's price action. Here we go at 8:30. We get a drop here. Now, we do have a change in the market structure here going down below this low. We switch. Okay, so here we created a high. Then we displaced lower. Here is the change in the state delivery. And this was the 8:30 candle. Pretty indecisive. Big wick to the upside, big wick to the downside. This candle, you can kind of ignore it. So even though we do have a shift in the market structure, we can kind of ignore it. Now, if I get another fair value gap, I would consider taking that, but let's just go ahead and be a little bit more patient right now. Okay, looks like we are going to make another high. So now we've taken out the sell side above this high. This is what I'm thinking is if we start going down below all this up move here, we have a change in state of delivery. If we go below this low, there is a change in the market structure. Just going to wait to see if there's going to be a fair value gap to the downside or not. We are coming up to 930. See what kind of volatility 930 is going to bring us. 930, we went up even more. We did not close in that 1 hour fair value gap, got close to it, and we are starting to move down. nothing obvious right now. It's pretty much just going sideways. Okay, so here we are, our first displacement to the downside. We created one, potentially two fair value gaps, and we've had a market structure shift here. So we could try taking a short. Let me just take a look at the risk here. If this fair value, I'm going to put one here in case that fair value gap remains intact. Get rid of this liquidity sweep. That's going to just confuse me. So the risk is not very much, so we could definitely take a stab at it. When I say not very much, I actually saw the numbers. Here's 82, so that's going to be about 33. I don't know. I guess I'm going to just be a little bit more patient because the higher time frame bias is bullish. So what I want to see here is I want to see confirmation. So a retracement back into one of these fair value gap and another displacement lower, ideally without taking out this low. Okay, so I'm not going to enter in anything just yet. I'm going to just wait a little bit longer to see what we get, and we've went through without any retracement whatsoever. So okay, I'm going to see what is going on. That is no longer my target. We went through this fair value gap, and remember this was a 1 hour fair value gap. Now, can we use it as inversion? If we do, there's all these sell side right here below these lows right here. So this is going to be the next target. Can we get inversion here? Can we retrace some and then get another fair value gap? I think if that happens, I can take a short aiming for these lows. But let's just see what happens here. Okay, this first fair value gap, the big one, is kind of stopping price for right now. But we are getting a rally. So it went up above that 1 hour fair value gap and it hit the top of it once again. And then we have a fair value gap here. So right now, I'm not filling longs or shorts, just kind of letting the price play out. I'm not exactly sure which direction to go. Today may be a no trade day because we are getting close to 12 o'clock. Okay, so with this rally up and this drop back down into this inefficiency here, and then we have another fair value gap. Now, I don't like how we already took out the high. If this fair value gap was here and we didn't take out the high, there will be a potential entry here to go for the high and perhaps dig into 50% of that 4 hour BTC. But it's going to be 12 o'clock very soon. I think today will be a no trade day. Yeah, so let's go ahead and so it is reaching up into 50%, but I did not like how this high was already taken. But let's go ahead and take a look at the day's action at the end of the day. And you see after going to 50% of that 4 hour fair value gap, we inverted once again. Here's a displacement lower, and here we got confirmation. And here there was a potential for short, but man, look at all these back and forth action. It is not looking great. So if you look at the calendar, now sometimes this happens where the very first Friday of the month is actually not non-farm payroll. I wonder if that is what's happening here because of all the sloppiness. I'm thinking if this week is non-farm payroll, I don't have the economic calendar here to actually confirm it. But there is a potential that the second Friday of the month could be a non-farm payroll. Sometimes this happens if like the first week only has a Friday, doesn't have Monday through Thursday. So this is potentially what's going to happen. But I'm going to assume not and just look at the price action. But I'm going to be very cautious. I may just go with like a half of my risk for the rest of the week. So let's go ahead and change the time to 8 o'clock and we'll go to Thursday. Okay, and we will start on the 1 hour. Okay, so let me go ahead and just clean the chart up. Now looking at the price, after going to 50% of that 4-hour fair value gap, we did drop back down into that daily fair value gap, went back into this fair value gap on the 1 hour, did not take out those relative lows on the daily. I'm wondering if that will be a target in the future, but looking at London session, we had a really big rally up back into this 1 hour fair value gap. I wonder if this is not going to be in play. I'm going to go ahead and adjust this to this fair value gap here. Also note to the left right here, we had a bullish fair value gap and a bearish fair value gap. So I'm a bullish fair value gap and a bearish fair value gap. So what I'm looking at here is a balanced price range. So I'm just going to go ahead and have the rectangle in white. This is a balanced price range, and since we've gone above it, I'm expecting prices just stay above it. But I'm not really keen on being long until we start going to the upper half of this 4-hour fair value gap and having price show me that it doesn't want to go into the lower half anymore. And if we start leaving it, that's definitely going to make me think, hey, we're going to go for these relative highs up here. But right now, I just want to be a little bit patient. Don't want to rush into anything. Remember, I talked the whole spiel about non-farm payroll, something like that could be happening. Now, if we start dropping, I expect price to come back into this inefficiency. We'll see if we get that or not. I'm going to go ahead and go into the 5-minute. And I'm not really seeing any obvious buy side, sell side. If you look back here, though, we do have, like right here at 3 o'clock, we went down below this low, taking out the sell side. And ever since, we've been rallying up. So let's just go ahead and start walking through the day's action. Here at 8:30, we're just steadily going up. Now, I don't like how it's just going up and up and up. If I were to take longs, of course, I want to see a sweep of the sell side, but we have been staying above this balanced price range. Now, what I would like to see, if we're going to be bullish, is I want to see price stay in the upper half, maybe have a sweep down lower and refusing to go into the lower half of that 4-hour fair value gap. That'll make me think that we are going to reclaim this 4-hour fair value gap. Nothing exciting is happening right now. We are coming up to 9:30. We've reached half of that 4-hour fair value gap, and now we are going higher. So I do like seeing this if we're going to be bullish, but as you can see, this is not looking bullish. We just dropped down. Are we going to confirm here? If we do get confirmation, well, we might be going for this low, but I don't like how, we're going to this balanced price range. If we are going to go down and we want to take a short, I want to see price go below this balanced price range. That would make me feel better on taking a short, and we may take a first partial in somewhere here in this inefficiency. But first, want to see if this is going to be confirmation, or are we just taking out some liquidity to go even higher? So far, we did not respect this fair value gap. We've closed above it, and we have a bullish fair value gap. So this is what I'm looking at. I'm looking at price dropping down here at a little bit after 9:30 to take the sell side below here, go back into this fair value gap, and now we're rallying higher. Are we going to get confirmation? If we do, I could try and take it and aim for these highs up here. But I don't want to just take the first fair value. So, okay, I don't want to take the first fair value gap. We have the first one here. We tapped into it. Now, if we create a second fair value gap, I may be more inclined to take that one. Okay, so we did go higher. Normally, I would say I don't like how the buy side is taken, but remember, this is a 4-hour fair value gap. We went into the upper half, and it looked like we are leaving the lower half. We could see we dropped down into it, but price is telling me that it doesn't want to stay down there. We pretty much left it immediately after just 5 minutes or so. We created a fair value gap, went back down, no bodies in it. We just wicked down to about 50% of it, and now we've potentially created a second fair value gap. So I'm going to go ahead and try to take this one. with this being my stop right here at what's the price here, 174.50. And if this fair value gap remains intact, I'm gonna go ahead and take a long here at 212. And let's see, 212, that's actually quite a bit of range, so I'm most likely only going to be able to take one contract. Let's consult the spreadsheet. So let's see, March 7th 2024, going long, and with the price of 18.12 as my entry, risk at 18,174.5. Nearly 40 points, which is quite a lot, but with one contract, you can see I am 0.67. If I take two contracts, it'll be more than 1%. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a shot if this fair value gap remains intact. If this fair value gap gets closed in, remember this candle is not done forming, there is no entry. Okay, so we get tapped in right here. So, sorry, not right here, because the fair value gap moved, my entry is actually down here, but you can see the next candle did wick us into it, and if you look really closely, there actually is a fair value gap here. So let me just zoom in. You can see right here, maybe even better. Okay, I'll draw a line here. You can see this was the high of this candle, and right here is my entry. So there is a small fair value gap. It just got moved a little bit, but my entry would be at the high of that fair value gap. Next candle did tap us in, so we are in one contract. And before I forget, let me go ahead and adjust on the spreadsheet my entry, because it's no longer at 212. It is at 18,209. So what am I doing? That is 18,209. Okay, yeah. And that gives me 0.62. So only one contract still, but we are in, let's take a zoom out look just to see where our target would be. I'm not even sure what the target would be. On the 1 hour chart, we have a fair value gap here. This could potentially be the first partial, which it's a little unfortunate. I want to go for the highs, honestly, but I'm not sure if that may be a little too greedy. I want to go for these highs. It may be a little too greedy. If I had more than one contract, definitely would do that, but I think to play it safe, we're going to go ahead and aim for this fair value gap. The low here on the 1 hour is 261, so that would be 52 points, which is not bad. So I'm going to get rid of this. I don't want to see price go below this fair value gap anymore. My stop is there anyways. So okay, let's go ahead and move the price. Taking a closer look here, I just want to make sure that this is 1-to-1. So from this low as my risk to my target here, you can see that 50% here is above my entry, so that is going to be at least 1-to-1. So let's go ahead and see if we get our first partial. Why does it look so weird? Okay, anyways, we did get our first partial. Basically, after tapping us in, we had virtually no drawdown whatsoever. Went into our first partial, and let's go ahead and mark it up. We took off our contract at 18,261.25. 1 to 1.5, not too bad. That definitely helped us cover our losses from yesterday. If we had more contracts, of course, I'm just going to minimize, not going to save it just yet, but of course, more contracts, I would try and hold for those relative highs that you saw on the 1 hour. But right now, I'm out. Got one win, done for the day. But before we move on to the next day, let's go ahead and take a look at the day's action here. Let's just go straight to 12 and see how the morning looked. We rallied higher, but as you can see, after going into that 1 hour fair value gap initially, we did have a big drop. I think if this happened, maybe get scared out of the trade. But whatever, we were able to take our partial here, didn't have any more size. Of course, I would have moved my stop to break even. So if I had more contracts, would not take a loss after that anyways. But steadily grinding up, it could reach those relative highs. Let's go ahead and see what 5 o'clock looks like. And as you can see, we did slowly grind up to take the relative highs. Remember, on the 1 hour, it's going to be that first one. These relative highs did not take those out, so that could be a future target. But I'm going to go ahead and remove this. And I'm going to remove this fair value gap as well. I'm just going to clean everything up. Okay, that looks good. So we took these out, did not take these relative highs out. And after taking out those highs, we pretty much just dropped back into that 4-hour fair value gap, stayed in the upper half. So that's telling me that I may want to think more bullish going into Friday. And let's go ahead and go to Friday. 8 o'clock. Try not to mess up my time anymore. Going to the 1 hour. I'm hoping those relative highs did not get taken just yet. And yep, okay, so these relative highs are up here. I'm just going to adjust this right here, take out this projection just to be a little bit less confusing. And my eyes are going to those relative highs up there. We went close to it, so there's going to be liquidity above here as well. I could mark this out. Sure. We do have another set of relative highs up here. This could be like a first partial and then the second partial. And I'm not sure if we're going to go up there all the way, but at least I don't know today. But you can see that we dipped down on the 1 hour into that fair value gap on the 4-hour fair value gap. Pretty much stayed in the upper half. No bodies in there. We wicked out pretty much immediately. Now, looks like we could come back in one more time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mark out 50% of this 1 hour wick. It's a pretty long wick. We could be reaching for 50% of this and using it as a PD array to go higher. So I'm going to do a solid line, and just to distinguish it, I'm going to do orange. Okay, so remember, this orange line is going to be 50% of this 1 hour wick. Go to the 15-minute. Let's take a look at the liquidity. We have those relative highs up there. We dropped down, took out this low, these lows down here. Did it take this one out? No. So we have sell side below this low. Now what I'm looking for is price to come down after 8:30 or 9:30, come down, take out this low, maybe even go to this orange line, 50% of that 1 hour wick. All right. And then I want to see a market structure shift to the upside. I want to see displacement to the upside, and I'm looking for longs today. No shorts, just longs. So let's go ahead and go to the 5-minute and take a look at the price action for the day. Going into 8:30, what do we get? I want to see a drop down lower. Holy moly, what is going on? So this Friday must have been non-farm payroll. You can see pretty much I bet this was a 1-minute candle. Pretty much took out the sell side, went to 50% of that 1 hour wick, took out the buy side. Just the first relative lows though, did not take out the higher one on the 1 hour. So look at this. It took out this high, but did not take out these highs up there. So this one's gone. I'm just going to turn this into a dotted line. I'll still keep it there for now. This one's got to be a dotted line. And now I'm not sure what to do. I'm thinking it's probably non-farm payroll Friday. Now, it did have a potential right here for a fair value gap. We'll see if that is created, and I want to see confirmation. So create a small fair value gap here. Now, went back up to the first set of relative highs once again. I think today may be a no trade day. It may just be like a missed day or something, but typically, according to my model, I don't trade non-farm payroll Fridays, which this looks like it is acting like a non-farm payroll Friday. But I'm going to let the price play out, and perhaps I can get a setup. I may take it with half the risk. And kind of done with it now because we did come back into this order block. And then we retraded above this down candle, created a fair value gap, but did not really give us a chance for anything. went up and took out those relative highs. Now I'm going to go ahead and zoom out to the 4-hour. Are we going to, now if we get confirmation, I may try take an entry. Don't really have anything until these projected targets though. Today may be a no trade day. I was really surprised with this action at 8:30. So when was 9:30 right here? 9:30 was this action going up and down. This big down candle was a little bit after 9:30. So I'm thinking we went down to this order block, created another fair value gap. So is this confirmation? And if it comes back down, am I going to take it? We've already taken out the buy side. I'm not too excited about it. In fact, it may not even come down to give us any chance. Okay, here we go. Looks like we are going to be turning. Okay, now it's coming back down into this fair value gap. Do I want to take a shot at it? No, because the buy side already got taken out. I was okay when the buy side was, taken by just a little bit, like right here. But when we go up like this, we spend, a good amount of time above that buy side liquidity. I don't really want to try and, bet that we're going to go higher. We could go higher still, but don't really want to bet on that. I'm thinking lower targets perhaps, but I don't know. Today maybe a no trade day is a little hard to read. So I'm going to go ahead and take this one out. These buy side, there's going to be a dotted line. Don't worry about the price. And I think if I have confirmation here, I don't know, that could be a potential long. So I do like how we just went into this fair value gap and we started wicking away. Now it's after 11 o'clock. You can see that I did not want to take this initial long, right? There's a bunch of reasons why. Buy side liquidity has already been taken. It spent a lot of time above the buy side liquidity. No confirmation, right? We came back down, but there was no confirmation. And now we've gone down. And it looks like we're going to go for this low here. Do I want to take shorts is what I'm thinking right now. Do I want to try and take shorts? Let's go back up to the 1 hour. Let me see here. Now, the only thing I could think of is to aim for this low, because this was like right above 50% of this wick. I could aim for this low, aim for 50% of the wick, and call it a day. So if that's going to happen, let's go to the 15-minute. We went up, took the buy side. We went below all this up candle on the 15-minute. So there is a change in the state of delivery. If we go below this low, we're going to get a market structure shift. So that is a potential that we go for this low. I'm going to go ahead and take out this line. I think that will be the trade today. But I don't really like seeing... I'm not sure if I'll take this first one. It's a pretty big range. 297 to, it's like a 100-point range. There's no way I can take this reasonably. So what I'm going to look for is I want to see price come back into this big fair value gap and give me a confirmation. Give me another fair value gap to the downside. I'll take that next one should my risk allow for it. Okay, I may have gone a little bit too fast, but no, it pretty much just dropped all the way and did not take out this low just yet. So there's still a chance. There is the smaller fair value gap, but I'm thinking that today is a no trade day. It's probably non-farm payroll Friday anyways, and it already went and took the sell side target that I was looking for. Took the buy side, took the sell side. There's really nothing more we can do today. I'm pretty much done for today. Gonna have to move on to next week, so I'm just gonna go ahead and go to the end of day, see what the price action is, and we'll probably end the live stream. Let me see if there's any questions. And as you can see at the end of the day, after we took out that sell side target, it did drop lower below that 4-hour fair value gap, came back up to 50%. So it's become inversion once again and pretty much just consolidated at the lows going into the end of the week. So that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for joining me for this live stream. If I like this enough, we may look at some live price action in the future, you know, and but I think right now I'm just going to stick with the back testing live streams. You're welcome to join me and just ask me whatever questions you guys want. And well, no guarantee I'll answer it, but if it's a trading question, high probability that I will answer it. But please like this video. I don't know if you could like live streams, so yeah, go ahead and like this live stream, like this video. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't been subscribed already. And until I see you guys next time, safe trading.